Welcome everybody to this video on the Automator Plus, where we're going to be looking at importing files into Premiere Pro into various bins. Grab some coffee and let's get going. Cool. So today we are looking at importing files into bins. So again, GitHub page, head over there, links below if you've got any requests for us, any videos that you'd like us to look for, any issues that you have with the code that we've supplied. And today we're going to look at this guy importing files into file type bins. So this is the code that we've put together for you. And we're gonna build a bit on our previous video of just using the file and folder classes within JavaScript. And the one method that we're going to be using to get a list of all the files is this open dialog method. So we did chat a bit about it in our basic usage video, but the gist of it is you've got a dialog, so it'll open the native Windows or Mac open dialog, and then you've got a few things that you need to specify, so prompt, filter, and multi-select. And we're just going to say let's get all the videos. Select video is going to be our prompt, but we don't want to filter for any file types. And then multi-select true. Okay, so this little code over here is basically going to insert all of the files that we select with our open dialog into the tutorials bin. So over here on the second line, third line, I'm creating a bin within Premiere Pro, and we do that by getting this project variable that we do over here. And then the root item is basically the root project folder within Premiere Pro. So we say, okay, cool, give us that root item, and within that root item, we want to create a bin called tutorials. Cool. So I'm going to jump into Premiere Pro here, got a nice clean project, and I'm just going to stop it here at line 5 just to show you that if we run this guy, we do indeed get a bin called tutorial. Okay. Then I'm step through this code. This is going to bring up our open dialog. Here we go. And if I go ahead and select these two videos and I hit open, then you'll see that this files to import, boom, boom, is an array of those two videos that we just selected. And then I'm just putting in a little if to say that if there was something selected, so if the person just hit cancel, then that array will be empty. So this if in here is just to double check that we do have some files that we want to import. And then we're going to iterate through and say, okay, cool, let us go and get the full file system names for each of the selected items that we've got in our files to import. So the files to import is an array of files, file types. So as you can see here, this class of each of these is the file type. But unfortunately, our import files method on the project item requires the full name of the file within the native OS's type. So we are going to use this .fsName to extract that full nice file name, and we're just creating an empty array to hold all of that. So if I'm stepping through here, boom, things error out. Let's put a little breakpoint over here, stop this guy, run it again, select my two clips here. Cool, so if we check out our debugger, we've got our fs names array that is currently empty. And if I push through there, you'll see that I do actually get this nice full movie 1 for the first file, and then the full list for the movie 2. Cool, so then we've got this fs names is going to be basically complete. And we've got our two files that are selected in our fs names, and then we can execute this project.import files. And that's got 4 parameters that we can set. The first is an array of all the files we want to insert. The second one is suppress UI. So if there's any issues that the files might have, or that Premiere Pro, as the normal Premiere Pro imports warnings that can arise. Over here, we're just saying we don't really care, just do the thing. So suppress warnings, yes. Then the third parameter is the actual target bin that we want to insert things in. So at the top here, we created our tutorials bin, and this create bin returns the actual project item for this bin. So we can just go ahead and use that bin. And then our final argument here is import as numbered stills, which we're just not going to worry about at this moment. So we're hitting that as false. Cool, so if we go and we execute that line of code, you will see that indeed our tutorials is now full with that. So because the project bins, you can have bins of the same name. So over here we've got 2 tutorials, so I'm just going to delete everything here, make that guy there, and run this thing from top to bottom, select all of this, open, and sitting in tutorials. Cool. But so what? You know, like what value does that bring? I mean, you could have just pulled in your files within Premiere Pro, right? Well, we've got the Lego blocks, we've got the building blocks to get access to our files. We're looping through files, we can create a bin. Let's expand this a bit to say that let's put the different types of footage that we might have into separate bins. Cool. So I'm just going to uncomment all of this good stuff here at the top. And we are going to be looking at the rest of this code. Okay, so the idea here is instead of now going and selecting a file, so we're now not going to go and use this file.open dialog. Rather, we're going to say, let's get a folder and let's loop through all of the files within that folder and put them into bins within Premiere Pro based on their file extension. Okay. So we've decided on 4 bins over here. So we got audio, video, picture, and other. And we're going to use this folder.select dialog to get a grip on our folder. And then we're going to get all the files by using this getFiles method. Check out the basic usage video on the files and folders if you want to know a bit more about those. So over here, we created our bins, great stuff. We've got a hold on those bins and these variables. And then as with the import that we did at the top there is we need the full FS names. So I'm just creating 4 empty arrays to hold the various arrays, the various file system names that we're going to put in there that we want to insert at the end. Then we've got our files. So we're doing the same song and dance here of just looping through all of our files using a for loop. And then we're introducing a few new concepts here. So the first one is this file instance of file. And basically what that is doing is if we hit a folder, because remember this getFiles method actually will return files and folders. So everything that's in that directory. But we only care about files at this stage. Expanding this code to actually go into a folder if it does reach a folder is a bit more involved. So currently I'm limiting us and saying like, let's just look at files. So this if file, which is this variable that we've gotten here, is an instance of file. So that's basically asking, is it a file? Is it of that class type file? And if that is the case, let's go and do some work. So what do? We go and get our FS name. And now we need to somehow get the file extension out of that file name. So we all know that usually after the last period of a file name is the extension. So we want to somehow get to whatever's after that dot. So over here, I'm using a few of the base JavaScript methods. The one being split, which you can call on a string, which will basically split up your string into an array with all the values that you've split on. So let me give this guy a breakpoint over here. And we run this. So I'm going to just select this full mixed media folder over here. So this mixed media, open, cool. Then if we just step through this FS code, okay, so we've got our FS name, which is now our full guy over here, right? This is our first file that we're working with. Then I've got the splitted array, which is this guy, and you'll see that it has split on that period, right? So over here, we've got a little period over there, and this guy has split it in there. But now we want to have the last value. And over here, I've just put a bit of robustness into this code by saying we don't necessarily know how long our splitted array is going to be. We don't know if there's going to be multiple periods in there. So instead of trying to use the last value, which we could have done, I'm just going to reverse this array. And that's going to allow us to just use the 0th value. So what are we doing? We're taking that array, these 2 values over here, reversing them, and then I know my extension is going to sit in that 0th compartment. And then I'm just casting it to lowercase to ensure that if there's maybe a .mp3 in caps, we're going to compare apples with apples. Okay, so if we check out this reverse, put that there. Let's just run this guy again. Cool. Breakpoint over here. Now we're there, and just to show you what is happening to this splitted array, as you can see it's like that now. As soon as we execute that, those values swap, and then file extension is our next variable that we then define, and that's sitting over here, and you can see that is .mov in lower cases. Cool. Then the next little thing that I don't think we've chatted about on this channel is a switch statement. So we could have now gone and made a hell of a lot of ifs, if else, if file extension this, then this, then this. But as soon as you have more than 4 or 5 ifs that you're going to be putting together, it is advised to start using a switch statement. And that is basically going to say, you can think of it as sort of a routing switch, if you're familiar with that terminology, but you're basically getting something in, and now you need to decide on what route you're going to take and switch the routes based on an input. So the format is something like this. It's got the word switch in, then the thing that you want to switch on in circle brackets, then you open up your curly brackets, and then you've got all of the cases that you might encounter. So for us, I've said only MOV, we're going to put into the video files, JPEG and PNG. So if you type these guys below each other like this, then it'll actually take both values, right? So it's JPEG will trigger this as well as PNG. That's going to go into our picture files array. We've got our audio files, and then a switch statement always has a default as well. So if none of the cases above have been met, then it will result to the default. Another little sneaky thing here is just a break. So if you don't include these breaks, then it'll carry through the switch statement. So if it doesn't counter MOV and we don't have this break in here, it's actually going to carry on and also push that into the picture files. So this break is basically to say, if you've met my condition in this current setting, let's break out of the switch statement and carry on. Cool. So then we've got our arrays of all our values, and then we've got a grip on all of our bins. So we've got bin, 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 and the files that we want to put in there. So let's run this thing from top to bottom. So I've got this little folder, it's got some MOVs, it's got MP3s, it's got a PNG, JPEGs, and then I've put in an MP4 as well. And the MP4 we don't have classified as of yet within our code. So boom, bam, there we go. All of our audio is chilling in there. Others now the MP4, our picture, our PNG, and our JPEGs would have landed here. And within the video, the MOV. So just again on the MP4, so as you see here, nowhere we've got MP4, so that'll result to this default, which pushes it to the others. Thanks for watching our video. If you like what we're putting down on this channel, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications when we upload any new videos. And if you want to support the channel, please head over to Envato and purchase any one of our extensions.